Hi, I'm Ronnie from Ronnie's Garage in Southern California. We're having our monthly tech meet, and today we're going to be talking about the heater system on a Silver Cloud 3 and the other clouds also.
I have a aftermarket air conditioner. Can you check and see if that works? I've never pulled buttons or anything. It's
Okay, well, let's just
tray table.
look at your system. Here's your air conditioning compressor. This is how they came. This is a York 2-cylinder. This, if you ever wanted to create an earthquake, you would use one of these because they shake and rattle and roll. They make a lot of vibration. These are the hoses. This big fat hose should go to the evaporator, wherever that is. I don't know where it is on this car. It looks like you got one hose. Typically, they're in the boot. Yeah, you got a boot unit. So you can tell by the stuff in the package tray back here. Usually they have a barrier here for the trunk. There's a board here that covers up your evaporator unit. And if you guys remember, the evaporator unit is the part that transfers the cold to the car. The air conditioning systems, since we're going to talk about them, pump Freon, which is a gas, and under pressure it turns to a liquid. So what they do is this pump right here, when it has Freon in it, which it probably doesn't, pumps, this is the high pressure, it pumps it out here to the condenser, okay? The condenser is like another little radiator that's supposed to get rid of heat, because when you pressurize pretty much anything, the heat goes up. So it pumps it out here, and as it gets, by the time it gets to the end of this condenser, they call it, it turns into a liquid. Then it's got to go back. Where's your dryer? I don't know where it goes through a cylinder that has a bag in it that's a desiccant that, even though it doesn't make sense, it dries the liquid. Okay? And then it goes back to that unit back there, the evaporator. Remember I said they pump this liquid through a very small hole and it turns into a gas and it gets everything really cold. So once it goes through the evaporator and it turns into a gas, this low side, this other side, is the suction side. It pulls that gas to feed the pump here, to pressurize it, to turn it into a liquid again. So it's going liquid, gas, liquid, gas, liquid, gas. And that's how the air conditioning systems work. As far as it working, we can see if the compressor comes on. We're going to start the car, clear. Let's see what happens. Most air conditioning systems have a fan switch and a temperature switch. Okay, the temperature controls how cool it gets back here. Okay, and what that does is to control that, it turns the compressor off and on. It's called cycling. Let's see what happens. Okay, this has two fan switches. So there's a left and a right fan. So you can control the speeds on those. It has a temperature slide. It should be, so I'm full cold right now, so what should be happening
hasn't come in yet.
Yeah, so this, if you look at this, you've got the belt spin all the time on this. That's the pulley. Up front here, this is a clutch. So when you activate it, it grabs it and turns the pump inside by the belt. So let's see if we have, let me get a fender cover and I'll just activate it. All right, so. Let's look. So this clutch here should have a wire going to it, and it's, I see it right here, this is the wire. Now that should have voltage to it. So if we check it and it has voltage, you got a bad clutch. Check it, it has no voltage, then we got a supply problem. So I'll put my test light, I'll ground it here, and we will see. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to disconnect the wire and see what we got here. No voltage. That should light up. What we'll do now is we'll just see if we can activate that clutch. Let's see which one has voltage. Should be that one, right? There's voltage, see? And we will hook up to the clutch wire. That's it, the clutch engine. Okay. Now if this was working and there was gas in it, this side, the high side, the pressure side, will feel warm. The low side will feel cold. Okay. So we got a supply problem for that. Anybody want to crawl in there and look under that dash for me? That's what I was afraid of. Oh, let me get under there, guys. Oh, shit. I'll go from the other side. There's more room. Most of these old ones don't have pressure switches, and that's a great point. Chuck just said, is it not working because there's no Freon in it? And modern cars have a fail, or whatever you want to call a safety system to keep from burning up a compressor by running it low on Freon. They have a low pressure switch which once the gas gets below a certain pressure it turns off the compressor. It won't allow it to work, and that's on they actually use that on Spirits and Spurs. After a certain point there's a low pressure switch on the compressor. And they also had a high pressure switch that will do two things. It'll turn off the compressor, and also it'll, no, they had a trinary switch, which when it's low pressure, it turns off the compressor. When it gets to a certain high pressure, it turns on an electric fan to cool that condenser better. Okay, so I'm gonna crawl in there and make sure we got some masks here, a wallet. Is that my payment in there? Oh, what's so funny?
That'll keep you young.
Yeah, well, there it is. I told you. I got to keep moving. So I'm going to check. We got a circuit breaker down here, and that's good. Fan switch. Oh, you're not going to be able to see this, Steve. So this is the compressor switch, and it doesn't have voltage to it. There's the fans. What is this blue wire? Okay, we got a blue wire and a red wire to that fan switch. So this might have a separate fuse for the compressor. Now usually the AC fuse is one of these. This side fuse box here. So there's two fuses in there. Looks like both circuits are being used. So what happens on these things a lot is not only do you have these spring tabs holding these glass fuses in there, so they got to stay tight, but you have spring tabs that connect it to those little wire terminals. So a lot of times these will spread apart, so I usually give them a little squeeze. Both the fuses look good to me. So we can always key on. Check for voltage on both of these. Okay, both of these have voltage. What the circuits are on this. There's a red wire that goes, so that's on the ignition feed. It's funny how they add this accessory. This should be on the other side because this is the feed from the ignition switch. See the bar across it? So this is not fused. It's supposed to go through the fuse. But that's okay. There's a lot of people out there that do things differently. Or it's a lack of understanding. So, Still no voltage over here, right? So we got a supply problem. I saw a blue and a red. What's it? Oh, that's the output is the blue, obviously. That goes to the switch. And is this the input? I'll bet you this is the input. Should be, there's, to that temperature switch, just so you know there's a, I don't know how that worked, because it had a, they call it a freeze out or thermal switch that to control the temperature, it's supposed to have a little capillary tube, which is like a temperature sensor that goes into the evaporator. So let's go back to the evaporator. Let's take a look at that. Sometimes